We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance. Welcome back to a fresh episode of Karishma Konnect, T-9 episodes away from the big 100. Here we are speaking to Jeremy Denisty, co-founder of Imagine3 Studio, Web3 and Metaverse expert, who recently, with his co-founder Dado, has written a book on this entire concept. And he talks to me about it. He talks to me about the third era of internet and why is it so important to see it in the light that we currently are in. How can we embrace it? How can we make it a part of our business models? And what are some of the things we need to look forward to in 2024 when it comes to technology? And he has some really interesting insights and examples that he shared with me on this podcast. So go check out the episode and I'll see you in the new year now with a fresh another episode on Karishma Konnect. Until then, stay tuned in. Thank you so much for all the love you have given us this year. It's kept us going and I hope it keeps us going as well. Lots of love. Tata. So dive right in. Tell me how you started. What was day one like in your universe of adulting or whatever? And how does it feel to be where you are today?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be talking with you this morning. So how far should I go back to, right? I mean, look, let's not go too far back. I started my career at Unilever in fast-moving consumer goods in Western Europe. I absolutely loved it. It's an amazing company. At that time, Paul Polman was the CEO and he had made the sustainable living plan. So I wanted to work in a big company, but at the same time, I wanted to have some level of positive impact in the world. So I was like, this is the company for me. I worked there for 5 years in sales and marketing. My wife was in consulting, and she traveled here in the Middle East in the region for some projects. And at some point, she said, "What are we doing in Europe? Look at the weather; it's so beautiful. I mean, it's such a diverse array of people. Come here over the weekend, and then we'll see if we think we want to move here or not." So I came over the weekend. I thought it was a fantastic place to be. I first landed in Abu Dhabi, not even in Dubai, and then we decided to move here. Took us approximately a year, and I decided to leave my job at Unilever, a job that I really loved, to come here. And the day that I landed, I met what would turn out to be my co-founder, the co-author of the book, my business partner. Really, the day that I landed at 4 p.m., I had dinner with him. I was introduced to him at 8 p.m. Yeah. And then at the end of the dinner, he basically offered me a job first as a consultant in Imagin3 Studio, which was named Scopernia before. And he offered me a job as a digital innovation consultant. I had done some digital innovation projects at Unilever, and I had told him during the dinner that those were the projects that had given me the most energy. But I didn't even know that the role of a digital innovation consultant actually existed. And he said, "But you know what? I mean, this is actually what we do, and this is what we offer to companies. So you want to join and just do that, but on an everyday basis?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it." Long story short, once I joined Scopernia, I ended up taking the lead of the company here on the local level because my business partner is based in Belgium. And then at one point, I'm deeply passionate about new tech. I'm a bit of a geek. It used to be a bad thing. Today, it's kind of cool to be geeky again.
Trust me, I know what you mean. You used to hide away.
So yeah, exactly. We used to hide away when we were kids, and now we're like, yeah, people think geeks are cool again. Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. So I'm a bit of a gamer. I like new tech, and I was like, okay, we need to create a new vertical that specifically tailors beyond digital transformation and digital innovation, or more specifically tailors to gaming, to Web3 that was growing very, very fast, NFTs, the Metaverse, artificial intelligence. And we created Imagin3 Studio within Scopernia at first. And the thing is that Imagin3 Studio grew so fast and so much that at the end of the day, Imagin3 Studio kind of absorbed the initial consulting firm. And now we work as Imagin3 Studio. And in parallel of that, we had a lot of client work, we had a lot of keynotes, we had a lot of workshops, a lot of discussions. We have a future club, which is a community that gathers future leaders from all around the regions. And we had a lot of very interesting discussions on technology. And this is where the idea to write a book actually came from. It's like, okay, we have ideas that apparently can have an impact on people and can help some businesses to move forward into the future. Let's structure those ideas, put them in a book, and publish that book. Took us a year and a half to write it. It's called The Virtual Economy. And it's actually my business partner's fourth book. It's my first one, but it's his fourth book. So he had written 3 business bestsellers before. So for him, it was a walk in the park. For me, it was a totally new experience, and I loved it. But yeah, so that was a rather long, probably too long intro, but on the journey of how we got there.
That opens up a lot of questions for me to ask, and one of them is that, tell me about that experience of writing for the first time. Tell me about that experience, especially when it comes to a business. You're not writing fiction, you're writing something that's practical, it's giving insights to the audience. How do you deal with, I'm a writer myself, so how do you deal with the authenticity aspect? How do you go through those emotions where you're trying to make sure that the point that you're making clear to the audience is coming across as you want? Tell me about the process.
Yeah, the process is very much of a roller coaster. The beginning is very easy because you have a lot of ideas. So as a typical consultant, what you do is that you take a sheet of digital paper and you structure your ideas, and you're like, okay, yeah, how can I build a storyline going through all of those ideas? This is kind of the exciting and the easy part. Takes a bit of time, but it's really nice because you're kind of seeing the story come to life. You don't really have to write a lot at this stage, and you're just about saying, okay, this is what I want to take my readers through. Those are the messages that I want to land. Those are the messages that I know, because we've given keynotes and workshops, they work. I mean, they have an impact. People take out their phone and take a picture of the screen when I'm presenting this. So you know what are going to be the high points. That's one of a good part. And then you have kind of a valley that you go through where you actually need to fill in the blanks, right? I mean, you have the title of the chapter, but now you need to write what's going to come in there. And there, most of the time, you know what you want to tell, but then a ton of questions that you didn't see coming come hit you, like, how specific do I need to be? How detailed do I need to be? We're talking about digital innovation. How technical do I need to be? You need to be a bit technical, because otherwise you stay very top line. But if you're too technical, you're going to lose most of your readers, and our readers are regular business leaders. We're not talking to the techies. We're not talking to the other geeks.
Yeah.
We just want to support regular business leaders. So you need to be very accessible, but at the same time, it also needs to make sense. You can't just write in a sentence, yeah, do more digital innovation, you will grow. I mean, that's you want to be a bit more specific. So that is what I found one of the toughest part in the process of writing the book, is that, am I writing too much? Am I writing not enough? I mean, too specific, not specific enough. So but then I feel like you climb up again. You're kind of structuring the entire thing. You're like, wow, okay, this is starting to take shape. You reorder, and then you go back into the valley when you have to reread everything that you've written. Oh, I found that absolutely horrible. First of all, because you as a person know 100% of the content that you've written. So you're like, I'm reading this and I'm not learning anything. Does that mean that that people will not learn anything? But then you need to take a step back and realize that, yeah, of course you're not learning anything. You wrote the thing. So that I found very difficult. You always want to correct yourself 1,000 times, and at some points it just needs to stop. It's like,
exactly.
And usually that's the last part. When it goes up again, we share the book with some people that are close to us, close to our network, that have not contributed to writing it, and they provide with feedback. And if the feedback is positive, which in our case was, but also extremely helpful in changing some bits that were a bit more unclear, then it's great, because you're like, oh wow, actually those people that I value their opinion a lot, and they think it's good, so that means that maybe it's good. And then we got it out, and which was kind of having a second baby for me, which it was very, very good. And then in the first month, because now it's been out for a month and approximately a month and a half, We're at 50% of sales from being a bestseller. So so we're halfway through being a bestseller already, which we totally didn't expect.
Yeah.
Business books are not in general sold in a massive amount of copies, and we've made some pretty good sales. So that's also a very satisfying feeling to feel that this book is being bought, but also, then read. We get comments, and people are sending us messages, people that we don't know about the book, telling them that it has inspired them to take some level of action. And for me, that's the ultimate output, right? I mean, that's the reason why you write a book, is that if someone reads my book and does one thing or one change that impacts his business or his environment positively, for me, it's a massive win. It's a massive win.
Yeah.
I'm not asking to change the world, but I mean, just this one thing, single thing is already enough.
Yeah. Congratulations on that success to you. I want to ask you, tell me about the book. Tell me about the book in your own words. Are there some insights that you can share? Maybe 3 of them that come to the top of your mind as we speak.
Yeah.
That the audience must know, and that what way could the book help them? And also tell me, how does your experience from Imagine kind of weave right in?
Yeah. So as I explained before, we wanted to make the book very accessible. So the first part of the book is very much about the why. Why should you even care, right, about the virtual economy? What we have seen over the last few years is a massive shift and acceleration of a lot of virtual platforms, virtual experiences, new virtual business models. You take one example. The kids are massively playing Roblox. It's just a fact. There are 60 million daily active users. It's monetized in plenty of different ways. There are kids and studios of kids that are making money in ways that brands could not even imagine a couple of years ago, and that are now starting to collaborate with brands, so creating new revenue streams for the brands themselves. So the virtual economy in itself, we start with the why and explaining. We've been through several waves of digital disruption in the past. Of course, the internet in the 90s, social media in the 2000s, then the new business models in the 2010s with the iPhone, 3G connection, Airbnb, Spotify. And we believe that we've entered a new wave, a wave of a new type of internet that is more immersive, with more 3D experiences, that is more exponential with more artificial intelligence, and that is more decentralized with blockchain technologies that are enabling a lot of different things. So that's kind of the first part of the book. And once we've kind of painted...
Sorry, I'm cutting you off there. But I also want to go back a step beyond the why to ask you, what in your work and what in your idea is the virtual?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. It was a long discussion before choosing the name of the book in itself and calling it the virtual economy. We called it the virtual economy because if you speak about an economy, it touches every single aspect of society. It touches you as an individual. It touches you as a worker. It touches you as a parent. It touches institutions. There are a lot of institutions on the local, regional, global, pan-continental levels that are changing regulations because of those new virtual platforms, virtual environments. Artificial intelligence and regulations around artificial intelligence is a global discussion topic at the moment. And therefore, if it starts changing regulation, it has a macroeconomic impact and a microeconomic impact, and therefore it impacts the entire economy. And this is why we consider it not just some digital tools, new tech innovation, but it's much more broader than that, and is really impacting the world and us as individuals, but us as a collective as well. So this is the reason why we called it the virtual economy, because we really want to land that message that, guys, we're not just talking about a couple new tools. We're just talking about how the world is significantly going to change at every single layer of society because of what is currently happening in this new wave of digital disruption. And the second thing that we've moved from that's why we use the word virtual, from digital to virtual. The digital world was very much about the infrastructure. Of course, every single business now has an e-commerce platform. as an app potentially is on smartphones, but that's very much the layer of the infrastructure layer in the digital world. Once you move into the virtual world, it's more about experiences. So you have the infrastructure. How can you build just better, more immersive experiences that are driving new business models and new revenue streams for companies? I think one of the examples that is really becoming huge at the moment are product passports and digital IDs in the luxury and fashion industry. That potentially is even going to be mandatory in Europe within a few years from now, which is a small QR code in every single piece of garment or bag that you can scan and that has full transparency on the supply chain of the product. So you're able to track whether it is sustainable or not, where did the material come from, what is the tracking of that product. I think it's very relevant with now COP28 that is happening, and this is a perfect example of the virtual economy, because this, first of all, is coded in the blockchain. I mean, this is the only way that you make it immutable, but it opens a whole new type of business model. A brand called Pangaya, for example, is fantastic. They first implemented those digital IDs, but that enabled them to create a re-commerce program. So you're able to scan that code and then go on a platform owned by the brands and then say, okay, resell it. And because you have that code, you have the authenticity of the product, you know where it comes from, everybody knows when you bought it, and you can put it at the right price on their own platform, generating a new revenue stream for them without having people that will check every single piece of garment. So it has a wide range of impacts, those new technologies within the virtual economy.
Yeah. That's super interesting. And then tell me what do you think this is? How do you think the future is going to pan out? Basically, how do you think virtual is going to pan out in, say, 2024 coming up?
Wow, I guess that's the $1 billion question, right? I think for sure. So I think the internet is going to evolve in the way that I described it. So more immersive, more exponential, more decentralized. There is a big question mark on artificial intelligence and the impact that it's actually going to have on society. It's already having a massive impact right now, but you see that it's very, very smart people are arguing about how optimistic or how pessimistic we need to be about the progress of artificial intelligence. And both camps have very valid points. It's very difficult to say. I mean, the optimistic people, Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz, saying very, very interesting things. He says, yeah, I mean, if we build a very smart intelligence, it can help us solve problems that we've never been able to solve. Things like curing cancer or solving world hunger, or helping us store energy, which is probably one of the biggest pain points that the planet has. We're terrible at storing energy, but that could solve a lot of the problems that humanity has as a whole. So he says AI has the potential to really save the world, literally. And therefore, he says, we should not regulate, because the more you regulate, the less we're going to be able to innovate. He's part of that club of, I don't know, Sam Altman from OpenAI, also part of that club of what we call effective accelerationism. So what they're saying is that if we can do it as humans, we need to do it. We have to do it. We have to move forward. So very, very valid points. At the same time, on the other end of the spectrum, you have people like Mogo, that's a very interesting guy. He was one of the initial founder of AI within Google back in the 2000s. And he's much more pessimistic about the future. He's like, wait, but if artificial intelligence is becoming more and more intelligent, it's going to replace jobs. Will the intelligence itself even be interested in interacting with us humans, because we're so stupid compared to it? So, I mean, what are we going to create, right? He even says, if you plan to have kids, you need to wait. We need to tax AI businesses at 98%. So in a very pessimistic, extreme pessimistic way, and it is very smart. Some of his arguments are also quite valid. So you have valid arguments on both ends of the spectrum. Then you have some smart people in the middle, like Mustafa Suleyman, that says, hey, it has the potential to save the world, but it also has some risks. So we need to work on containment strategy. Containment is his big word. So I think if you ask me, okay, how the future is going to pan out, that's where we position ourselves on this spectrum, and the decisions that we make in terms of regulation, in terms of innovation, in terms of progress with artificial intelligence, is going to very much define that in the future. But One thing is for sure, if we come back from that philosophical or moral discussion, if we come back to earth on what matters for business leaders, one thing's for sure is that in the future, it will be tougher and tougher for businesses to battle for the share of attention of customers. I studied marketing, and in marketing school, one of the first things that they tell you is that you need to be where your customer is. Very valid. But in my opinion, that's job done. It's pretty much done. Every single company is where the customer is. I mean, if you live in Dubai, you can get anything you want at the touch of a button at any point in time, in the week, in the day, in the night. It doesn't matter. You can get access to everything. So for me, the battle has transferred from being where your customer is to the share of attention.
Yeah.
Because everyone is where the customer is, you need to fight for that share of attention, because we have only limited attention span, and that gets more and more limited the more we're having our connected tools all around us. And if you want to fight for that, we have done, that's one of the models of the book. We believe that you need to focus on creating magic for your customers. Really focus on what can I do to create magic, and you can create magic in three things that's what we call the magic triangle. Building better experiences, amazing experiences, magical experiences. Tesla is very good at that. Tesla has a magical experience of interacting with your car. Community building is massively important. Nike is amazingly good at that, at building communities, close-knit communities, co-creating with their communities. And then the third point of the magic triangle, experience, community, and loyalty. Loyalty, I think, has massively failed us. Everyone has 17, on average, 17 loyalty programs. If I ask you how many you use, probably use 1, 2, or 3. If you were in the UAE, probably Emirates, Skywards, Marriott Bonvoy, and Share with Carrefour. We need to get better at that. Some companies are doing it really well, like Starbucks, leveraging new technologies with Starbucks Odyssey. So yeah, that's where I think in the future companies should focus on creating magic with experience, community, and loyalty.
And how can startups, because we have a bunch of them in Dubai, and not just in Dubai, worldwide, I think it is kind of the startup era that we are seeing, right? So many emerging entrepreneurs. How can they get started with embracing the virtual economy within their business models?
Well, in multiple ways. I think it has never been as easy to create a business as it is today.
Exactly.
I mean, let's face it, especially if you're in Dubai.
Absolutely.
Incorporating a company is absolutely easy. You need a website. Durable.ai creates a website for you in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But if you want to have an MVP that you put in the market that will do the job, you can use ChatGPT or other AI tools to help you structure your thinking, write copy, translate that copy in different languages, create marketing material, images, videos, you talking in 5 different languages.
Yeah.
All of this is made extremely easy today. So the first thing that I would say for startup founders, even if your company is very down to earth, you're selling a physical product in a physical store, nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's where most people shop still today. So, but you can leverage the tools of the virtual economy, mostly artificial intelligence, to actually help you achieve that and do that better. But I believe what I said previously about creating magic is also very much valid for startup founders. And I think probably even more valid for startup founders. If you don't have a legacy brand, I mean, you go to Dior or Yves Saint Laurent, you talk to them about creating magic. They will tell you, yeah, it's been 50 years that we've been creating magic for people. Yeah, okay, fine. And they probably have to do some small improvements and come with things that are marginally better to continue to thrive. Startup founders, of course, it's different. You're starting from scratch. So I would really encourage startup founders to think, how can I really create magic for my customers? Because I'm going to have to fight for their share of attention just like anyone else. But I have one more difficulty, that no one knows who I am.
Yeah.
So creating magic and thinking, how can I create magical experiences? How can I build my business on top of a thriving communities? For startup founders, Mr. Beast, one of the biggest YouTuber, I mean, if not the biggest YouTuber in the world, that's exactly what he did. He built a community, he's co-creating with his communities, including his community in all of his videos. And of course, it's very easy to take a look at him now because he has billions of people, I mean, hundreds of millions of people around him. But he has always, if you go to these early videos, he has always done that. And then once he got a community that was large enough, he started launching products and services such as merchandising, such as his chocolates, such as Mr. Beast Burger, although something went wrong with a lot of things went wrong with Mr. Beast Burger, but still, I mean, the business idea was absolutely brilliant, starting with community and building products and services on top. And the same for loyalty. You need to have, I mean, we know it's the cheapest way to do business is to have customers that come back. So and a lot of startups, and by the way, not only startups, a lot of large businesses as well, are spending way too much money trying to recruit customers versus spending money to optimize their loyalty and make customers come back. Sometimes I get into businesses and we help some businesses. You take a look at their customer lifetime value and you see that their customer lifetime value is half the price that they pay to recruit a new customer. And you're like, how can you even greenlight this? I mean, you're just basically burning cash every time that you have a new customer. So loyalty is a big point. So the magic triangle and creating magic is very much valid also for startup founders.
Yeah. Another thing that I have kind of gauged from your conversation is that, it's also very important to keep upgrading. I think that's what I see when I speak to you, to keep upgrading and to kind of also look out for resources as an entrepreneur or as a leader today to kind of keep yourself on the go. Would you say that that is something that can help humans or leaders of the past stay relevant even today? Because we are also in an era where we are faced by this need to stay relevant, right? Because with all of this happening, like we spoke about the future and you mentioned different perspectives, we're at the risk of skills getting redundant too soon, right? So do you think these are some of the ways in which, and this is why leaders need to be more on the go today than before?
Yeah, I mean, spot on. That's it. I think one sentence that I use a lot is that I keep on saying to people, you need to disrupt the status quo. I mean, what you're doing and disrupting the status quo does not mean leave your legacy behind and start from scratch. That's not what it means. It means that some of the things that have not been moving for a while, you need to completely change them. Forget about doing some incremental innovation. If it has the state of a status quo, you need to completely disrupt it and change it. And that's a mindset. That's a mindset before everything else. It is about questioning what is being done. It is about questioning what doesn't work, but also questioning what works, because potentially it could work significantly better. I mean, a lot of the major companies, and we always use the same examples of the Kodaks, of the Blockbusters. Before everything went bad very fast, everything was going extremely well. I mean, everything was going extremely well. It's not that it took 20 years for them to go from, everything went extremely well, and then it started to go bad really, really fast, and then nothing was done, and then they climbed down to bankruptcy. So I think we need to, business leaders, whether it is for SMEs or large companies, you need to be aware that it's not because something that you've done in the past works really well that it will work for the next 30 years of the business. So disrupting the status quo is the right approach. Keep on creating, and most importantly, one thing that I'm desperately trying to land with our clients, and with quite a level of success, I think people are more willing to listen to that, is test and prototype, build proofs of concept. You don't need to change and disrupt everything at the core of your organization. You can disrupt the status quo by prototyping and launching something new. We're launching at the moment, for example, a large community in Saudi Arabia with Adidas in the Middle East.
Okay.
A community for women, because Adidas and the Saudi Football Federation, they want to encourage more Saudi women to do sports and to play football and just to get out of their home and just meet with their friends and do more sports. So of course we could have said, okay, we can include this community within Adi Club and within the Adidas ecosystem, or thinking when we were building it's like, no, wait, let's not do that. Let's just build it as a separate platform. We say it's an Adidas and Saudi Football Federation type of platform. We build it, we grow it, we see what works, what doesn't work, we prototype, we test it. And once we have something that is mature, then we include it into the heavy infrastructure. And we did that because we knew if you had to include this into all of the legacy infrastructure, then things take, instead of taking 2 months to launch, you take 1.5 years to launch.
Yeah.
And that is preventing most companies from innovating and starting new things, because it becomes so complex. Oh yeah, but that needs to enter into my ERP, and then oh yeah, the database needs to come from this CRM in Salesforce, and no, forget all of that. I mean, even Starbucks as a massive company, when they built their loyalty program, they didn't build their Web3 blockchain-based loyalty program. That is, by the way, a massive success for them.
Yeah.
They didn't build it within Starbucks Rewards. They built it separately as Starbucks Odyssey, with a pipeline and an objective to integrate it within Starbucks Rewards within the next 3 years if it were successful. So I think that's the right mindset, is keep on creating, try to disrupt the status quo, but also don't be afraid to do it in a prototyping manner, in testing POCs separately. And if it's successful, scale it, integrate it, and scale it within your business. I think it's Clayton Christensen, which is the founder, by the way, of Disruption and Disruptive Strategy, that said in the 90s, if you put innovation in the core will kill it. And that's very, very true.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good takeaway for anyone that is managing a business.
It's a wonderful takeaway and a wonderful sum up of the whole interview. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for joining me on this episode of Karishma Konnect. It's a pleasure to have interviewed you. Lots of insights there, and I can't wait to share it with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure discussing with you. Thanks.